You were marked before the world knew your name. Before your lungs filled with air, heaven wrote a code into your spirit. A spiritual encryption key the enemy cannot forge, cannot steal, cannot even read. It is the frequency of your destiny, and it is waking up right now. You have walked through seasons where telling the truth cost you everything. Friends vanished, doors slammed, opportunities dissolved like mist. But you would not bow. You feared God more than man, and that incorruptible loyalty became the seal of your appointment. While others were blinded by titles, you saw the spirit behind the mask. You discerned the wolf in a prophet's robe, the venom in the smile. That sight will lead millions away from deception, out of the grip of systems that wear light like a costume. The fire came for you. The refiner's furnace raged, but you came out without bitterness. You did not weaponize your pain into pride. You kept your tenderness intact, because truth without love becomes another form of bondage. Crowds came and went. Some cheered, some cursed, but neither applause nor hatred could sway you. You are immune to the intoxication of the crowd. In a world drunk on approval, you stand sober, holding the line. You learned the holy art of silence. You know when to speak and when to wait. You guard heaven's timing like a sword in its sheath, because truth released too soon becomes ammunition for the enemy. Your authority was not bought, not borrowed. It was forged in hidden battles, in nights of fasting when no one saw, in prayers that felt like they split the sky, in obedience that made no sense to anyone but God. You speak the language of the lost. You can wrap eternal revelation in words that slip past defenses, in images that awaken the sleeper. You can open eyes without blinding them. You have never mistaken the mission for the spotlight. You crave the fulfillment of the assignment, not the applause of the audience. That is why heaven can trust you with scale. And when the counterfeit rises, when the lie dresses itself as light, you will not retreat. You would rather face the full wrath of darkness than let another generation be chained to its deception. Chosen one. God said you will lead millions to the truth. And every trial, every exile, every hidden victory was heaven's proof that you were ready for the weight of that call. They wondered why you were hidden, why the oil on your life seemed locked away. But heaven was not delaying you, it was protecting you. Strategic concealment kept the treasure in your vessel from being hijacked, kept the sacred from being stamped with someone else's brand, kept the truth from being sold before it could be sown. This was not stagnation. It was compression. Every hidden year pressed your revelation tighter, burning away cliches, ego and excess, until what remained was sharp enough to pierce through the densest deception. When your words finally break into the open, they will not scatter like mist. They will strike like lightning. You had to be detoxed from the addiction of metrics, the prison of applause, the seduction of virality. You learned to walk with God without the crutch of public validation, so when millions gather, you will not be steered by their cheers or silenced by their boos. Smallness was your safety net. It pruned away the handlers and gatekeepers who would have demanded a toll for your platform. God made sure you would never owe your voice to someone who could later muzzle it. The quiet wasn't empty, it was training. It calibrated your nervous system for exposure. In the shadows, you learned to sleep without anxiety, to set boundaries without guilt, to pace yourself so you could carry weight without breaking under it. Endurance is not born in the spotlight, it is built where no one is watching. Before your unveiling, heaven had to secure your jurisdiction. Spiritual authority precedes audience. Without that legal clearance in the spirit, your influence would be an open invitation for retaliation. Now, the territories and topics you will speak into are covered by divine mandate. Timing is everything. Your release had to synchronize with the hunger curve of your generation. If you had spoken too soon, your words would have been entertainment instead of sustenance. Now, the famine is ripe, and what you carry will feed multitudes, not just fascinate them. Hidden years also built your infrastructure for ethical scale, intercession networks, accountability systems, financial integrity that cannot be bought, governance that will hold when the weight of influence comes. Without these, a loud platform becomes a collapsing stage. In the secret place, God gave your voice a signature that cannot be faked. By the time the imitators arrive, your frequency will already be imprinted on the hearts of those assigned to you. They will recognize the real, even in a world drowning in counterfeits. And finally, your audit trail. Faithfulness in obscurity, consistency without cameras, fruit without followers. Heaven will cite your record when the promotion comes, silencing every accusation that you rose on charisma alone. You weren't just waiting, you were being fortified. And now the nations will hear a voice that cannot be bought, cannot be bent, and cannot be erased. The wilderness was not punishment. It was calibration. God pulled you away from the noise, the trends, the crowd's endless demands, until your instincts no longer bent toward public opinion, but toward the faint, steady whisper of his voice. You learned to navigate not by the map of men, but by the compass of heaven. Then came the classroom of unanswered prayers. You cried. You knocked. You fasted until your body trembled. And still the skies seemed sealed. But in that silence, you learned something most never discover. That covenant is stronger than comfort. That obedience does not expire when feelings fade. That faith is not a mood. It's a verdict you render when nothing moves. You entered the furnace of misrepresentation. They called you arrogant when you were simply confident in the promise. They accused you of rebellion when you were following God's detour. They painted you in colors you never wore. And still, you didn't retaliate, because you understood that leaders called to carry dangerous truth must endure fire without throwing it back. In the hidden arena, the real battles were fought, not on platform, not in comment sections, but in the midnight hour, with principalities pressing on your chest and shadows whispering you should quit. It was there you learned strategies, not from books, but from the captain of the Lord's army himself. Victory became muscle memory. The laboratory of obscure assignments tested your excellence. Tasks with no applause, no audience, sometimes so small they seemed irrelevant. Yet you carried them out as though they were royal decrees, because they were. Every unnoticed act was training your hands for the work that will soon be seen by nations. The gymnasium of restraint shaped your timing. Heaven let revelation sit heavy in your spirit, not to torment you, but to teach you that a word released too soon is a weapon in the wrong hands. You became a guardian of timing, knowing there is a moment when truth strikes like thunder. You walked into the market of ordinary people, the shopkeepers, the laborers, the skeptics, the broken. God let you live among them so you could carry truth without a robe, so your words could reach not just the temple but the streets. The forge of financial famine purified your motives. With nothing to lean on but God, you learned how to fund vision without selling your soul. Scarcity taught you that provision is a person, not a paycheck. Then the vault of ancestral revelation opened. Prayers prayed by forefathers you never met began to echo in your spirit. Strategies hidden in family lines became the keys for breaking strongholds rooted centuries deep. And finally, the mirror of daily obedience. This was the truest test. No stage, no audience, just you, a choice, and the eyes of heaven. Every yes in private became the proof that you could be trusted with the weight of millions in public. The wounds were never random. They were the chisels in the hand of the master. He let certain blows land not to destroy you, but to collapse the borrowed self. The false identity built on applause, on fitting in with the tribe, on wearing an image the crowd could approve. All of it had to shatter, because you cannot lead millions if you're still addicted to their acceptance. You had to anchor in who God says you are, not who they need you to be. Pain became your surgeon. It cut away the idolatry of outcomes. You stopped worshiping numbers, stopped bowing to the god of metrics, and started leading from presence alone. Success stopped bribing you. Failure stopped threatening you. You became untouchable to the manipulations of results. This suffering, this long, unglamorous obedience, was training your frame to carry holy weight. Voltage from heaven burns through the unprepared. But you learned how to hold it steady. Your nervous system became a sanctuary. People will gather around you, not because you are loud, but because your stability is a shelter in the storm. And you speak the dialect of the broken. You know the rhythm of a shattered heart. You understand when to pause, when to whisper, when to let silence do the heavy lifting. You don't preach pain. You translate heaven into it. You bring the language of comfort from the throne of grace. Your scars taught you the enemy's playbook. You can spot the grooming before it matures, call out the gaslighting before it twists another mind, disarm the scarcity spiral before it cages another soul. You carry prophetic intelligence. Intel only pain could teach. And in those nights of survival, non-negotiables were carved into your soul. Boundaries that will not bend. Ethics that will not be sold. Sabbath that will not be stolen. You will not trade purity for reach. You will not silence truth to keep a seat at any table. Your healed wound is your seal of authority. It's your covenant scar. It says, I paid the price. I bled for this. And when the accuser tries to smear you, the scar speaks louder than their lies. You have learned the alchemy of heaven, how to transmute pain into courage. Your anger has been refined into clean fire. Not revenge. Not ego. Just fearless clarity to confront every system that profits from chains. And your voice, it vibrates at the frequency of your flock. Those marked by similar fractures hear it in their bones. They know you're one of them. They know you've walked through the valley they're in now. So heaven routes its power through that healed place. No leaks, no corruption. The very spot the enemy tried to destroy is now the mantle you wear to lead. What was once your greatest weakness has become the throne from which you speak. Freedom. Heaven gave you authority before you ever stepped into the land. Jurisdiction before geography. Your feet haven't touched every place you're called to, but the deed is already signed in the spirit. Illegitimate powers sense the warrant over you, and they brace for displacement. They move like squatters who know the rightful owner is coming. Your frequency is not just sound, it is a scanner. Every word you speak sends a sweep through the atmosphere. It pulls back curtains. It unmasks motives. It reveals alliances formed in darkness. It maps manipulations that thought they were invisible. And when exposure comes, those covert structures become vulnerable. There is something in your voice that cannot be replicated. Un anti-counterfeit timbre. Propaganda can mimic your tone, but it cannot carry your authority. Your words puncture curated narratives. They collapse influencer economies built on imitation and trend. They end the reign of those who traded truth for performance. When you speak, a conscience activation protocol ignites. It's like dry bones hearing the command to live again. People feel the sudden awakening of moral agency. They realize they can say no to lies, yes to freedom. And when consent is withdrawn, control models crumble. Your language is contract breaking. When you name the abuse loop, it loses its legal right. When you identify the soul tie, it unravels. When you call out the occult bargain, the signature dissolves in the courts of heaven. The realms that profited from those covenants panic at the thought of legal nullification. Your message disrupts the deception supply chain. You cut off the raw materials of bondage, shame, confusion, manufactured scarcity. The industries that monetize spiritual disorientation find themselves bankrupt. They cannot feed a people who are full of truth. Even when you're not there in person, your voice carries a non-local contagion effect. It moves through kitchen tables, group chats, prayer circles. It creates cascades of awakening that no central authority can throttle. Your cadence compresses time. Healing that should take 10 years happens in months. Clarity that usually drips like rain now strikes like lightning. Gatekeepers who monetize slow progress fear the speed of liberated people. You are immune to capture and prediction. You cannot be bought, flattered, or blackmailed. Adversarial systems cannot own you or model you, and anything that cannot be controlled is treated as a threat to the entire structure. Your very presence is a mirror of unavoidable exposure. Hidden things surface. Masks slip. Leaders who thrive in secrecy preemptively resist you because you are the one who turns on the lights. You've seen it with your own eyes. The marketplace of messages overflowing with counterfeit revelations. Cheap imitations. Empty visions packaged to look divine. False prophets multiplying like weeds in a field that hasn't felt real rain in years. Do you know what that means? It means there is a rare original in the earth right now. It means the hunger is real, and heaven is about to release it through you. Restless migrations are already underway. People are walking away from the beliefs that raised them, leaving the buildings they once called holy, abandoning the teachers they once swore by. They don't even know where they're going. Only that the well has gone dry, and their soul is still thirsty. You are being positioned to be the well they find in the wilderness. Language itself has collapsed under the weight of lies. Words like freedom, love, and truth have been hollowed out until they are shells of what God intended. But your voice, your anointed, spirit-breathed voice, will restore weight to those words. When you say truth, it will cut chain. When you say love, it will heal wound. When you say freedom, it will open prison doors. They don't want another polished speech. They are starving for unfiltered testimony. Stories with the scars still showing, truth without makeup, victory without pretending the battle was easy. When you speak from the raw place, You will pierce hearts in ways a rehearsed sermon never could. The counterfeit market is booming. From crystals to conspiracies, from self-proclaimed gurus to algorithm prophets. They are buying shadows, because the real thing has been hidden. But the demand is proof. If the substitute is this popular, the genuine will start a movement that no one can stop. Even fragments of real revelation are dangerous to darkness. A single sentence you speak in obedience can travel farther than you ever planned, cross borders you've never seen, ignite fires in places your feet have never touched. This is why the enemy fears even your whispers. The people are tired of endless analysis, debates that lead nowhere, opinions that never transform lives. They are ready for truth that demands a decision. Truth that divides the light from the dark, the sheep from the wolves, the living from the spiritually dead. Remnant groups are already gathering. Secret prayer circles in living rooms, underground Bible studies in coffee shops, fellowships forming without a central leader, waiting for the main supply line heaven has assigned to you. Even the old control systems are starting to panic. They are overreacting to voices with almost no platform, because they can sense the people are ready to believe an alternative. If it sounds like living water, and the echoes are everywhere, in secular films, in street art, in protest chants, without even knowing it, the world is prophesying to itself, repeating patterns from scripture, crying out for a king they claim not to believe in. They are ready, chosen one. The famine is deep, and you carry the bread. They know they cannot steal your anointing, so they try to dilute it. The first strike is subtle, opportunities dressed in noble language, wrapped in urgency, parading as kingdom work, but secretly off mission. You say yes to enough of them, and your focus scatters like seeds thrown into the wind, never taking root. It's not the big temptations that slow you, it's the almost right assignments that keep the real work from ever gaining momentum. Then comes the drumbeat of false urgency, calls, messages, emergencies that aren't yours to solve. The enemy wants you running from fire to fire, burning your oil on short-term sparks, while the long-term flame of your destiny flickers unattended. You cannot build an ark if you are always bailing out someone else's sinking boat. They send help next, not heaven's help, but helpers wearing the wrong spirit. They offer early support, become indispensable, and then plant seeds of dependence. When the hour of release comes, their true assignment is revealed. To sabotage from within, to pull a single stone from the foundation, and watch the whole structure shake. The enemy's favorite play? Premature platforming. Push you into visibility before your roots are deep, before your infrastructure can carry the weight. They hope the attention crushes you and makes your fall a public warning to others. Do not confuse being known with being ready. Then, the trap of emotional entanglement. People strategically placed, their crises timed to your breakthroughs. They drain your clarity, tether your decisions to instability, and disguise distraction as compassion. Guard your heart with Proverbs 4:23, for from it flows the wellspring of life. To weaken your hearing, they normalize spiritual noise. Opinions, predictions, endless voices. The more static in the air, the harder it is to hear that one still, small voice. You must treat your atmosphere like holy ground. Not every voice gets access. They create resource bleed through good causes. Projects that look righteous but siphon time, drain finances, and burn the creative fire meant for your primary assignment. Good is the enemy of God's best. They launch identity distortion campaigns, whispers in corridors, false narratives planted in trusted ears. Suddenly, you spend energy defending who you are, instead of advancing what you carry. Remember, Jesus never chased rumors. He fulfilled the mission. Your preparation cycles get fragmented. Every time you approach a breakthrough in skill or consecration, something interrupts it. A move, a distraction, a personal storm. So you arrive at the release moment, with tools half-forged. And finally, the temptation to self-appoint, to declare, "I'm ready," before heaven gives the signal. To launch without full spiritual clearance is to sail without the wind. You might move for a while, but you'll be easy prey for storms you were meant to outlast. When the truth you carry enters the open, it will not slip in quietly. It will hit like a prophetic thunderclap, crashing through competing narratives. The stories that never belong together, the ones people have tried to hold in the same breath, will split apart under the weight of what you speak. Double binds will dissolve, masks will crack, and the world will discover that you cannot walk two paths once the light has been turned on. And when that light burns too bright for the counterfeits to hide, the gatekeepers will panic. They will try to oversecure the gates with new rules, loyalty tests, and whispered warnings. They will say it is for unity. But the real unity they seek is silence, because their authority never stood on substance, only on the absence of a challenge. They will expose themselves without you needing to touch them. Trust will begin to migrate before the buildings do. Communities will sense where the fruit is, and they will start walking toward it, leaving behind the ones who speak without producing life. This is how legitimacy shifts, first in the hearts of the people, then in the structures that thought they owned them. Some institutions will reform to match the truth. Others will wither because they cannot. And the economy of attention, the marketplace that rewards noise over nourishment, will feel the quake. Clickbait will lose its power. Shock headlines will fade. The eyes and ears of the people will recalibrate, searching for integrity, and the industries that monetized outrage will watch their profits collapse like sandcastles at high tide. The vows that kept bondage in place will be broken in the open. Families will reject generational scripts. Movements will rewrite their charters. Organizations will throw out the old phrase, "That's just how we've always done it." There will be a prophetic cleansing of agreements, seen and unseen, that were keeping destinies locked in chains. And here is the warning. Systems will fork. Those with the courage to confess and repair will adapt. Those built on image management will implode, because truth cannot be metabolized by what is allergic to exposure. History will begin a forensic correction. Archives will be rewritten. Curriculums will be revised. Testimonies that were buried will rise to the surface, becoming the new canon. The record itself will start discipling future generations toward honesty instead of propaganda. But freedom will have side effects. A mass soul detox will sweep the land. Liberated people will feel vertigo. Some will grieve the comfort of captivity. Others will feel nostalgia for the control they escaped. This is why pastoral care, healing structures, and disciplined community will be critical. New governance will rise, not to build idols, but to resist them. Movements will guard against personality cults, keeping open books, transparent decision, and succession plans from day one. And finally, the culture itself will change. Language will be rebaptized. Holidays will be recentered. Art will carry the fragrance of truth. Parents will raise children immune to the old lies. And freedom will no longer be the rare exception. It will be the default setting of a world remade. Give God the first hour, not the scroll, not the screen, not the noise that begs for your attention the moment you wake. Before the world speaks, let heaven set the frequency. One undistracted hour in prayer, in scripture, in stillness, and your spirit will rise above the fog the enemy releases at dawn. Leadership collapses when your attention is tithed to devices instead of the divine. Guard your ratio. For every voice you let into your ear, 3 must come from revelation, not media. This is your signal to noise covenant, because too much noise will bury the prophetic whisper. The algorithm feeds appetite, not assignment. And you are not here to feed the machine. You are here to deliver a message that alters destiny. When heaven gives you a fresh word, do not rush to spill it into the street. Truth gains voltage in silence. Test it against the word. Run it by your counsel. Let it mature in prayer until the Spirit says, "Now." Release too soon, and it will be trampled by those who have no reverence for pearls. Move at the pace of grace. Assignment sets the speed, not demand. Strategic no's are not disobedience. They are protection. Urgency without authorization is a slow sabotage, and the enemy loves to keep the chosen exhausted, confusing motion with progress. Build your Sabbath architecture. 1 full day. No posting. No planning. No pretending to rest while secretly working. This is not laziness, it is holy maintenance. Without rest, power warps into pride, and even the anointed can become dangerous to themselves. Keep your money clean. Refuse murky funding. Open the books. Predetermine generosity before you are tested by overflow. The one who owns your purse will own your platform, and you have been called to be unpurchasable. Do not walk alone. Keep a counsel. Intercessors who know your name in prayer, and elders who can veto your plans without fear of losing access. Authority that cannot be questioned cannot be trusted. Consecrate your mouth. Zero gossip. No flattery to open doors. No exaggeration to impress the crowd. Your words are surgical tools, and careless speech can cut the very ones you are sent to heal. Treat your body as a temple. Rest, fast, move, breathe. Your nervous system is not just flesh, it is the delivery system for your spirit. When millions borrow your equilibrium, you must have stability to give. Audit your soul every month. Stand before God and review the motives. Measure the fruit. Confess what needs cleansing. This is how you stay aligned when success tries to camouflage drift. Quick repentance is your emergency brake. When momentum tempts you to coast away from the narrow path, there comes a moment when you can't go back. The bridge burns behind you, and it is not the enemy's doing by. It is your own irrevocable yes to God. You no longer negotiate your destiny by how you feel, by how they respond, by what the numbers say. You are anchored in obedience, and obedience does not take polls. That's when the commissioning seal comes. Not hype, not momentum, a seal. You feel it in your spirit when doors swing open without knocking, and other doors slam shut even though you had the key. No meeting made it happen. No connection could arrange it. This is heaven's administration, moving pieces on the board to protect you from corridors you should never walk down. And then your signal crystallizes. Your message compresses into something undeniable, something repeatable without losing power. It becomes a banner, a rally cry, a prophetic sentence that crosses borders without your passport. It no longer belongs to you alone. It belongs to the awakening. But heaven doesn't let loose what it hasn't secured. So you establish a CHAINOFCUSTODY for revelation. You test it in prayer. You align it with the word. You let it be weighed by trusted counsel. You safeguard it so the truth you carry can be defended without you even standing there. And there will be fruit. Not just noise, not just emotional highs. Familias reconciled. Addictions broken. Destinies restored. Miracles you can trace back through testimony like audit trails in the spirit. Because grace has patterns, and heaven has protocols. Then comes the betrayal stress test. Slander rises. Loss hits. A friend you trusted becomes a saboteur. This is where many leaders cut corners, settle scores, or trade integrity for survival. But you stay in covenant. You prove that authority anchored in God is not a costume you put on. It's a spine you can't remove. You put the vision into a founder's charter. A small, clean circle. Clear roles. Open books. Decision rules that make power serve the mission instead of the man. You distribute stewardship because movements die where personality cults live. And because you think beyond your lifetime, you build succession and multiplication architecture. Pipelines to train. Standards to ordain. Handoff procedures so the work breathes long after you're gone. Moments fade. Architecture lasts. Even your former critics start quoting you. Institutions that once ignored you begin to adopt your language. Your framework travels into rooms you never entered. And that's when you know adoption has gone beyond your tribe. Until finally, the ERA gets a name. Historians mark this season as the Hin, before and after. The moment the call stopped being private fire and became a generational torch. No darkness could put out. Chosen one, God said, you will lead millions to the truth.